Hello guys and welcome back to Dark Horse FM, and in today's video I have a tactic that is unbeatable for you to actually try out on Football Manager 2022. Turns out when I was looking for this tactic I actually went to FM base and then I was searching for a tactic that is probably the closest thing you can get to a plug and play tactic, and then I searched for the best tactic that exists currently in Football Manager 2022 right now, and then I saw a couple of tactics, but then this one stood out for me. It's basic, it's traditional, it probably should work for almost any team, but then I noticed that for the underdog side this tactic might actually struggle to work, but then I took it anyway, and then I said I'm going to actually try and test it out to see if the tactic is indeed unbeatable as they say. That's probably, by the way, that's the name of the tactic as well. The name of the tactic is unbeatable tactic. So for this tactic I actually set it up for certain teams in Eastern Europe because I actually had a plan to come to Eastern Europe at some point. So I took on Krasnodar, Zlin, this is Zlin, right? Yeah, Zlin, Sparta, Prague, and Academica, Zlin, Academica is in Romania as well. So I took on these four different teams, and these different teams are spread across mostly elite teams in their own division, elite teams in their own right, and sub-top, and then the underdog team. Academica is an underdog team in this selection. So we're going to see how the tactics play out. But first, we're going to look at the tactic description, and then I'll show you how the results turned out with this tactic. So remember guys, if you're new to the channel, remember to hit the subscribe button, try and get notifications whenever new videos come up. I normally make videos like this and try and test out tactics in Football Manager 2022. I also look at team philosophies, and basically for teams that no one is actually really using in FM22. That's why you can see most of the lineup of teams that are in this setup are probably teams that you might not recognize in Football Manager all the time. So that's probably where those are the teams I actually enjoy using in Football Manager. So by the way, if you're new to the channel, remember to subscribe and also to hit the like button as well. And for this tactic, so before we go into the tactic, this tactic testing actually took a unique shape because I didn't add myself as a manager. I added myself as unemployed, and then all the other managers in the other clubs are managers that I created at random just to have them test the tactic for all the other separate teams. So as you can see my name, I am actually unemployed in this particular save. So looking at the tactic right now, it's a 4-4-2 with inverted wing backs. Often I don't use inverted wing backs, but this tactic is actually unique, so I'm going to see how it actually plays out. There's a super keeper and then the back four, two ball playing defenders, and then the roaming playmaker and the box-to-box midfielder. So there's so much movement in the middle of the field, and then there are two wingers, two wide players, two wingers. They're not cutting inside. So the players that are cutting inside are the inverted wing backs on support duty each, and then the two strikers are advanced forwards on attack duty. So we're going to look at player instructions. So something unique, I haven't gone through the tactic in detail, so we're actually going to do this together. Looking at the sweeper keeper on attack duty, there are no instructions for him, and then the inverted winger on support duty has been asked to take more risks, shoot less often, and tackle harder, and then all the other instructions are for inverted wingers, default instructions anyway. So looking at the inverted winger on the left hand side, he has identical instructions as well, so that's good. And then the ball playing defender on the left hand side is pass it shorter, shoot less often, dribble less, stay wider, and then tackle harder. And the ball playing defender on the right hand side has identical instructions as well. Box to box midfielder on support is the central midfielder on the right, and then he has whoa, that's a lot of instructions. The ball playing defender, the box to box midfielder, the box to box midfielder on the right hand side it has pass it shorter, take more risks, dribble more, shoot less often, get further forward, move with channels, close down more, tackle harder, and mark tighter. Wow, that's a lot. And then the roaming playmaker is the central midfielder on the left hand side, and then he has, well, not a lot of instructions as well, but he has some instructions: more direct passing, shoot less often, tackle harder, mark tighter. So yeah, technically he's the playmaker in the team. And then the wingers have, well, quite a number of instructions as well. So the tactic is quite loaded with instructions. Take more risks, cross from byline, hold this position. Wow, winger, hold this position. That's quite unique. That's something you don't see a lot in tactics. But anyways, close down more, tackle harder, mark tighter. And then the winger on the left hand side has identical instructions as well. The strikers are advanced forwards on attack, like I mentioned before. And then the striker instructions are take more risks, dribble more, tackle harder, and mark tighter. The striker on the left hand side has identical instructions as well. So the identical instructions for roles that are quite repeated, so that's quite good. But there's a lot of instructions for the box to box midfielder, so it's going to be tricky to see how that plays out. Now that we've gone through the burden of the player instruction, we're going to look at the team instructions now. when the team is out of possession, the team has been asked to press a lot more often, urgent pressing, very high pressing, much more often, high pressing. And then the defensive line is much higher with the higher defensive line, but much higher line of engagement. And then the goalkeeper's instruction, the players have been asked to prevent short goalkeeper distribution. I think I need to start this all over. I'm getting confused. Prevent short goalkeeper distribution, use offside trap, press much more often, and then the defensive width is narrow, so they've been asked to show the opposition outside, and then much higher line of engagement and higher defensive line. In transition, the team has been asked to counter press and counter as usual on Football Manager 2022. This seems to work very effectively. And then the fullbacks, the goalkeeper has been asked to distribute the ball to the fullbacks and roll it out to them, not kick it long or throw it too far away, but just roll it out to the fullback. So it's play out of defense. I'm expecting that to be in the team in possession instructions. So in possession, yeah, like I said, play out of defense has been included, but the team's attacking width is fairly wide, which is identical with respect to the team's mentality. And then the approach play, the team has been asked to pass into space and overlap on both flanks. So there's an overlap on both flanks. In the final third, the team has been asked to walk the ball into the box with low crosses, and the team has also been instructed to run at defense. The tempo is extremely high, but the passing directness is quite short. So there's a mix of creativity and crispness in the tactic as well. So I'm not aware if they are set pieces, but we're going to have to look at those now. In the corner routine position, this is how the corners are set up. I can't really tell if this is how it is by default in Football Manager, but this is how the corner defense has been set up on the left hand side and on the right hand side. In attack, the corner is a near post corner routine. As we can see, has been saved. I probably should save this for myself as well. And then there's a near post corner on the right and on the left hand side. So the near post has been included. The near post corner has been included. In the free kicks, I can't really tell if they are also by default Football Manager free kicks, but in out wide and defensive indirect free kick, defending out wide, this is how it's set up on the left and on the right. And then in attack, this is the indirect free kick out wide. This is how the team has been set up. And then yeah, this doesn't look like the default setup. This looks like something the tactic creator included by himself. So on the right hand side, this is how the indirect free kick is set up. And then on the deeper free kicks, this is how they're set up on the right hand side. And then this is how the indirect deep free kick is set up on the left hand side. The small chance of a shot free kicks pretty much identical to indirect deep, and it's set up this way on the left hand side. And then on the right hand side, this is how it's set up. Direct free kicks, and this is how they're set up on the right hand side, and this is how the direct free kick attack is set up on the left hand side. So guys, that's how the tactic has been set up. I'll attach the link to FMBase so you can download the tactic for yourself if you want to. Yeah, I think that's the easier method because the other method might be too long, so I'm going to attach the link to the unbeatable 424 tactic for you to download it from FMBase directly. So we're going to look at the team's results after this. So guys, we're back at the 30th of May 2022. That's at the end of the season in Europe. So we can see that, okay, by the way, first thing that stands out is that I actually got a job for managing Cote d'Ivoire without actually applying. So that actually worked out. I went on holiday throughout the season and then I actually got a job to manage Cote d'Ivoire. I might continue with this save, I'm not sure. But by the way, let's look at how the other teams performed. That's why we're here. First of all, Krasnodar. Krasnodar were not predicted to finish first in the league, but it turns out that at the end of their season, they lost 3 times and then they drew 8 games, but then they went on to win 19 games. They only fell short by 1 point, and then Dynamo Moscow went on to win the league. Looking at the Russian Premier League, you can probably have an idea about who was supposed to win the league anyway. Krasnodar were predicted to finish third, so they did one better than themselves, and I guess I'm sure this Russian league prediction has probably shifted throughout the season. But looking at the way it is, Krasnodar actually did well. Looking at the team stats to see how the tactic actually played out, the most goals were scored by Krasnodar, 73. That's way more than Dynamo Moscow actually scored themselves, and they were the champions. Most dribbles was completed by Krasnodar as well. Considering that this tactic is not really a patient, because it's not really a patient tactic as well, even though the passing is short, we can see that the most possession was the Lokomotiv and then Sparta before Krasnodar had 54% possession all the way down in 5th. So they still did well. They had the most shots as well, and then the points per game was also Dynamo Moscow because it's probably why they won the league anyway. But then Krasnodar had 2.17, just a few points short. So you can look at their season to see where they probably lost it. They lost 4-2 to Lokomotiv Moscow, and then they also lost, but they had a lot of good results. 8-1 against Novgorod, and then they lost to Moscow. So there's two defeats in there to Dynamo Moscow twice, Lokomotiv Moscow and then Lokomotiv Moscow again. Those are two defeats that they had that probably cost them the league. They also lost to Rostov, which is the third defeat that they had. So it means that the team that actually won the league probably outdid themselves as well to actually go on to beat Krasnodar in this competition. The next manager we're going to look at is Zlin. Now, Zlin, I kid you not, was not predicted to go anywhere in this league. I know that the predictions might have changed recently, but they ended up finishing fourth in the mid-table. Yeah, they predicted to finish mid-table, and then they ended up doing that. So this league is probably quite conflicting because I can't tell. Okay, they actually divided the league into two and then played the relegation and then promotion style of competition towards the end. So looking at the Czech Republic First Division, we're actually going through the league table in as a whole. Looking at the league table, Zlin actually finished 5th place with 49 points, and then they were far off from Sparta Prague. Sparta Prague was the other team that we tested. We're going to look at them too to see how well they did. Looking at Zlin's season schedule, we can see how well they turned out as well. They also had big wins, one in the FA Cup game, and then they also had 4-1 against Jablonek. That's probably a big victory as well. But the tactics seems to work out for them. But they had a lot of draws, and then they went on this parallel 4-game losing streak. But they bounced back immediately afterwards, and then they lost to Slavia Prague. So Slavia Prague, from what I'm aware of, are the teams that are actually predicted to finish first in the Czech Republic League. But they have been overtaken by Sparta Prague, and then we're going to look at Sparta Prague in a minute. But looking at the way Zlin actually performed, they did well with the tactics, slightly above average because they were predicted to finish, I think, 14th or so. But they went on to finish as high up as they did in the league, so that's actually quite good. The next team we're going to be looking at is Sparta Prague. Now, Sparta Prague, they actually ended up winning the league, but we're going to show you something really, really unique about this tactic and why it works, and why this tactic works really, really well. The past winners of the Czech Republic League has been Sparta Prague for the last 3 seasons, and Victoria Pilsen and Slavia Prague and Victoria Pilsen again. The last time Sparta Prague actually won the league was way back in 2014, and then they were close enough in previous years, but then we can see from this point that the first time we tested the tactic with Sparta Prague, they dominated the league and went unbeaten all season. They probably scored the most goals. They scored 118 goals in 30 games. Yeah, 118 goals in 30 games. So that's a lot of goals, and it worked out for them. And then they ended up toppling Slavia Prague's dominance in Czech Republic. We're going to look at the competitions to see how well they stacked. And then looking at the competition, the Czech Republic League, Sparta Prague scored 132 goals in total, and then the fewest shots. Okay, well, Slavia Prague, they were actually one of the better sides defensively. And look at the league the goal standings in this view. We can see Zlin, the other team that we tested the tactic with, to show you how well this tactic gets you a lot of goals. Zlin actually had 72 goals, so close to Slavia Prague, but then the standout performance was from Sparta Prague using the same tactic, and they scored 132 goals. They had the most tackles as well, so the tactic is quite aggressive. They also had the most shots, so they try and create a lot of chances as well. And then they had the highest points per game with 2.69. Zlin again is right up there. We can peek and see them. The last team we're going to be looking at today is the Romanian side, Academica Slinceni. I hope I pronounced that correctly. Academica Slinceni or Clinceni. Anyways, looking at the competitions, Academica was also, they were not predicted to finish in the top half. They were likely predicted to battle for relegation as well. So you can see that the board expectation was to avoid relegation. But looking at the competition standings, we can see the Romanian league now. You can see, looking at the league table, Academica went on to finish 9th, and then they had a lot of shaky performances throughout the season, but then they won 10 games and then they had -3 goal difference. Looking at the league table, for a team that was predicted to finish bottom, they finished high above, far from the relegation points. Anyway, looking at the competition to see how well they turned out, in team stats, the highest amount of goals was scored by Furun Kostana, and then the fewest amount of goals was Looking at Academica's results, they didn't do quite well compared to the other teams, but also to be fair, in their defense, they're one of the weakest teams that I selected, and probably also confirmed the fact that this tactic doesn't actually work as well for underdog teams, even though Academica actually went on to not get relegated and to also finish high above us, ninth in the league table. So the tactic, well, it helped them a little bit, but because they are such an underdog team and they were not that cautious defensively, is probably why they shipped in more goals. But then they had a sort of balanced season, slightly better than what they were expected to finish before. So they met all their expectations, but for me personally, in their own expectations to overachieve, the tactic did not help them overachieve. It helped them to actually complete their task. So guys, that's a summary of the tactic. Remember to leave a like on this video as well, and also to subscribe to the channel to get notifications when new videos are posted. I'm also going to leave the link in the description to FMB so you can download the static as well. And then all the same guys, thanks so much for actually staying this long with the video, and thanks so much for watching, and I'll catch you guys in the next video.